Good evening and welcome to our celebration of Laudato Si week and the month of Mary. During this week, let us pray and reflect together as we honour the Blessed Virgin Mary and care for our beautiful planet. We shall reflect together on how our hearts, like Mary's, may glorify, magnify the Lord. We shall consider practically, with the poetry of Gerard Manley Hopkins, how we as a parish community may show greater respect for our environment and how we might allow ourselves to change our ways and become a responsible and eco-friendly parish. Let us begin by listening to Bernadette Farrow's setting of the Song of Mary, the Magnificat, found in the first chapter of St. Luke's Gospel.
My soul proclaims the greatness of the Lord. My spirit sings to God, my saving God, who on this day above all others favored me and raised me up, a light for all to see. Through me great deeds will God make manifest, and all the earth will come to call me blessed. On mountain love and mercy shore will I proclaim, for all who know and praise God's holy name. God's mighty hand, protector of the just, will guard the weak and raise them from the dust. But mighty kings will swiftly fall from thrones corrupt. The strong broad Soon will some poor and hungry be richly blessed with given greater worth, and Israel, as once foretold to Abraham, will live in peace throughout the promised land. All glory be to God, Creator blessed, to Jesus Christ, God's love made manifest, and to the Holy Spirit, gentle Comforter. All glory be
After the Annunciation scene in St. Luke's Gospel, Mary makes the long journey from Nazareth in the north to Ain Karim, 110 miles to the south, to the home of her cousin Elizabeth. The journey of several days gives her time, and she uses it well. She ponders and dwells on the secret the angel has shared with her and its significance, that she is to become the mother of the Lord. She is overwhelmed when she considers what this means. The promise made to Abraham is being fulfilled in her. In her, the Lord casts the mighty from their thrones and raises the lowly. He fills the starving with good things, sends the rich away empty. All this she ponders on her journey, and her heart is full of a joy and wonder that is almost impossible to express. In the end, she arrives in Elizabeth's house. She is delighted to share the friendship and sympathy and total understanding of her older cousin Elizabeth. Glad, too, to share the joy of Elizabeth at the prospect of the birth of her son. And now, finally, with Elizabeth, she is able to share her secret and be totally open. And everything spills out. Here, in her prayer, Elizabeth and we are given a privileged glimpse into the heart of Mary. She cannot help herself. Her heart rejoices, and because she rejoices, so she sings. She sings in the midst of a life at times engulfed with uncertainty and difficulty. She sings of her joys. In a hostile world round about her, Mary is thrilled at the prospect of the birth of her son. Let us now spend a little time in a meditation in praise of Mary by Pope Francis, entitled Queen of All Creation. That beautiful meditation comes from the encyclical letter Laudato Si, which Pope Francis published 5 years ago this week. Most of us know that our Holy Father, Pope Francis, chose to be called after St. Francis of Assisi. Many of us assume that St. Francis was a priest, but St. Francis was never a priest. Rather, St. Francis was a deacon who beautifully lived his ordination of diaconia, of service to others, especially the poor. St. Francis, as deacon, preached, tended to the poor, and above all, loved. Indeed, he loved all of God's creation. St. Francis serves as a model for our deacons today, and for all of us, as to how to live, how to act, and how to be. St. Francis of Assisi often used to say, "Preach the gospel at all times. When necessary, use words." St. Francis composed a beautiful poem, Brother Sun, Sister Moon. Laudato Si, mi Signore. Praise to you, my Lord. In the words of this beautiful canticle, St. Francis of Assisi reminds us that our common home is like a sister with whom we share our life, and a beautiful mother who opens her arms to embrace us. Praise be to you, my Lord, through our sister Mother Earth, who sustains and governs us, and who produces various fruits with coloured flowers and herbs. He praises God for the wonders of the material world. Francis believed that everything in the natural world was a gift from God, and as such deserved to be appreciated and valued. Because of this, Francis refers to the sun, wind, air, and fire as his brothers, and to the moon, stars, earth, water, and death as his sisters. For a few moments, let us look at some banners inspired by St. Francis' great hymn, Laudato Si, mi Signore. They were painted by the young people of the summer youth camp of 2017 under the direction of Beatrice Revievna. They show St. Francis, Brother Sun and Sister Moon, Mother Earth and Sister Death. Let us now watch a presentation on Pope Francis' letter, Laudato Si, produced by CAFOD.
Pope Francis has written a letter addressed to every person on this planet, urging us all to protect the earth, our common home. In the letter, he says, "The earth is God's gift to us, full of beauty and wonder, where the fruits of the earth belong to everyone. But what we see today is that our common home has never been so hurt and mistreated as it has been in the last 200 years. We have developed at a greater speed than we could ever have imagined. We have treated the earth like it has an unlimited supply of resources, taking more than our fair share from most people on the planet, as well as future generations to come. We have stripped the earth of its natural forests, contaminated the earth's waters, its land, and its air. Plants and species are becoming extinct at an alarming rate. The earth, our home, is beginning to look more and more like an immense pile of filth. Our increasing use of polluting fossil fuels, especially coal, oil, and gas, is helping to drive climate change, which is one of the biggest challenges we face today. Climate change affects us all, but it is the poorest communities who suffer the most. We are now at crisis point, where the future of our common home is under threat. And despite this crisis, there seems to be no slowdown in the lifestyles of the rich nations. Enormous gaps between the rich and the poor continue to rise. Between those who are trapped in poverty with few or no resources, and those who are consuming and wasting at an ever-increasing rate, leaving a trail of waste and destruction. Our digital world is also polluting us with noise and distractions, stopping us from learning how to live wisely, to think deeply, and to love generously. Real relationships are replaced with virtual friendships, which we can choose to accept or reject, making us dissatisfied with true, deep relationships, or can give rise to a new sense of isolation. Yet, despite all of this, all is not lost. Young people demand change. Young people want to build a better future, which takes seriously the environmental crisis and the sufferings of the poor. So we can change. We can make a new start. To protect our common home, we need a common plan. The whole human family needs to work together so that we may sow beauty, not pollution and destruction. Our use of polluting fossil fuels also needs to be replaced without delay. And we need to stop treating the world's resources as an object for profit, with no thought on how our actions might affect the environment or future generations. So let's put love for the world and love for our neighbour into action by living together in harmony, listening to one another, caring for nature, and getting involved with society and politics. Let's undergo an eco-conversion in which we listen to the cry of the earth and the cry of the poor. This means taking seriously things like avoiding the use of plastic and paper, reducing water waste, separating rubbish, and using public transport as a part of our calling to protect creation. But more urgently, we need to slow down on how much we consume and throw away. We can find great joy and freedom in living simply, rather than always on the lookout for what we do not have. We are capable of these changes and making a new start. So let us make that start today. Signed, Pope Francis. Laudato Si, a letter from Pope Francis on care for our common home.
So, Mikon, I wonder if you'd very kindly say a few words about yourself, a little about your story, about your life, about your faith story, about how long you've lived in Southall and St Anselm's. Tell us a little about yourself.
Hello. So I was born in Malaysia of Chinese descent. I came to England in 1971 to study. I completed my business diploma. I work in the bank. I also got myself baptized in Luton.
Now, how did that come about?
I got baptized because I was always studying in a convent school since I primary, and I like to go to novena on Saturday, and I love the incense and smell, and I didn't know what it is really, and the singing very much so. Obviously, I have a lot of instruction while I was in Malaysia. I do go to the mass. I don't know what it is on the table. I always wanted to go in front to see what is that man doing on the table, I say to myself. So one day in the church in Luton, and the priest was preaching about, he says, nobody come to receive the Eucharist on Sunday, not many people. So I say to myself, oh, come on, Mikun, you go to Mass every Sunday. Why don't you go and get yourself baptized? So I did. I got myself baptized, and I was confirmed at the same time. And then that's it. I forgot about it, carry on my life. Then I read a book about special needs people, the LASH, and I was very, very impressed by it. I changed my job. I changed to train to become a nurse for special needs in Borough Court, which is in Oxfordshire, beautiful countryside. And then I went to Lake District for a while, a break in Keswick. I came back to London and trained as a mentor nurse, then have a break for that kind of job and work with children in a playground for 5 to 12 years old for about 7 years. Then finally I work in a home, a small unit for special needs, people who suffer dementia. So, and meanwhile, my journey of my faith life is lukewarm. I met the sister of Charles de Foucault. I do like their lifestyle and the ordinary life, but I'm just sort of a Sunday Mass person going. But gradually I got to know more through reading and to attending retreat. I do like the life of Charles de Foucault and joined the lay fraternity. But also I quite was interested in St. Ignatius' spirituality. So I'm very happy. I've just completed 34 weeks of St. Ignatius retreat, and it's about really now is going out to the world now that Christ is with me and walking with me. And it's something I really love, because every morning when I get up to go for my walk, and I say to Jesus, you are walking with me in this early morning, to be with nature watch and to be with me, fill me with your radiant love and guide me in my footsteps.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Thank you. So, and perhaps you could now share with us your thoughts about Laudato Si.
Something that really touches me about Laudato Si is about the saying about a common home, that is global. I mean, that we are living in a common home and care for our own common home wherever we are. It's not just about climate change, but it's about really caring nature and living and learning and loving nature, and let nature heal us and also help our brothers and sisters wherever they are.
So, and why do you find Laudato Si so inspiring?
First of all, it has a lot of components in it. It's not just one thing about climate change, but it's also go into other people who are living, our brothers and sisters wherever they are, how they because of the climate affects their life, and how we care for them wherever they are. So there's this connection that is wonderful that we emphasize, and the biodiversity of the requirement.
Yes. And how do you try to live? How do you try to live your life responding to the cry of the earth and the cry of the poor?
I think as a member of Charles de Foucault too, is lived some kind of like a Nazarene life, a very simple, ordinary life of daily life, looking out for where there is need, you help them, or where there is a need of the young people, for example, helping them to do the Duke of Edinburgh Award, or just live simple life, shop locally, just carry on, and just quietly.
You've been in Southall for quite a long time, and you obviously know a lot of people, and you've got to know some people very well, particularly I think people who also are very concerned about our community and our environment and care for our environment. Would you like to say anything about the people, your friends, with whom you share this passion for care of the environment?
Of course, we have linked with Arosha. which is a Christian organization that I'm also quite involved with.
And what does Arosha do?
Arosha, the main emphasis about the environment, about eco-church, and they also run a park here, Woolfield, and education of to help people to realize the need of caring from the heart about environment.
And I mean, what is your experience of being in Woolfield?
Woolfield is with the young people. The St. Anselm brings the young people there. They really learn about nature and learn about cultivation of food crops. They enjoy it. It's a big expanse of fields for them. I think it gives them a start of feeling the nature process of healings and caring and enjoyment.
And you've used this phrase, eco-friendly.
Yeah.
What do you understand by the phrase, eco-friendly parish?
I think eco-friendly parish, for me, I think the first thing is really, before we become eco-friendly, we have to be litter conscious. So we have to advise the congregation and all about litters. I mean the litters not inside the church, just an environmental church. Eco-friendly is obviously the way of not using products that is harmful, and also about recycling, about not being wasteful of things, about single plastic use. But in particular St. Anselm's, I got a bee in the bonnet, and that is we use too much paper. And I think that paper could be reduced, because every time I recycle, I take lots of paper away. And if we could just think about linking to trees, each paper that you use are trees. So we could reduce that. And also about recycling in the hall. One of the criteria, eco-friendly is not just about the building, the land, but also about the global, which is what you're doing now, which is telling the parishioners about the whole thing about ecology.
And in your experience, would you say that St. Anselm's is an eco-friendly parish?
It's not yet. Not yet, because I think we have to go back a little bit to encourage people to think non-plastic, which is very hard. I think if you grow up with plastic, it's so easy. You could, so quite often about a plastic cup is why not? You can just throw it away.
So what are the circumstances in which you see people using plastic?
Well, it's mostly in gatherings we tend to use plastic. I mean, we have started to encourage in the what I can't remember. This it slips my mind. In this thing about in the evening that we do. Alpha course. Yeah, that we have started to use paper cups and paper plates. And paper cups, paper plates, and also ordinary plates for washing.
Yes, yeah. Yes. Thank you. And are there any other things that you would like to see happening in St. Anselm's that might make it more eco-friendly?
Yeah, I think we just start with the cleaning products that you use and all those things to see about that, and Well, education, the first thing is really, encourage the people who use the hall to be eco-friendly, to be, I know there's cost involved, but still, maybe you can put, maybe use, and you can use a dishwasher or something. And maybe also LED light bulb. Yeah, so save energy, save water, because it's not just about plastic.
Yes. And how long have you been coming to the allotment here?
Well, Armand told me it has been over 10 years.
10 years.
Yes, over 10 years. So it's a small beginning, sort of 2 plots, and then now we are together. You come every Tuesday, but gradually we do need more people. We grow things, we share things.
Who are the people you come with?
Some people from the Anglican Church. There's a Quaker who used to come, and there is a lady who comes from the Gurdwara. The people who has no faith. There was a blind gentleman. He's doing less now. So it's people of all nationalities. And also at specific time we did have some children from the school come across a couple of years ago, which we showed them various things. So it's working together, relax, and sharing the produce, and sharing each other's story.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Mikon. Thank you.
Mikong spends many happy hours in the allotment with her friends from different Christian communities, from the Anglican community in Southall and other Christian communities, with friends from Arocha, the Christian environmental community with its headquarters in Southall. Together, they delight in the gift of God's creation and work together to protect it and nurture it. Each morning, Mikong goes for a walk, a quiet, reflective, contemplative walk, early in the morning. Here now, an extract from her nature walk diary.
Nature Watch. The morning nature watch is a lifesaver. It is such a healing process. Watching the duck with the 6 ducklings growing up now, as it is more than a month since I first saw them. There were 9 of them, and now only 6. They are almost 4 times the size when they were younger. They seem to know me, and come to me every day for their feed, wholemeal brown bread. The swans are not friendly to people. There is a lone swan, and it looks sad. It will pick bread close by and occasionally hiss when I get too close. I feel sorry for it. It is very lonely, especially when the other 2 swans pass by. The Canadian geese are not afraid of people. I saw one occasionally. Robins do come on the path, and the squirrels too. Pigeons are everywhere, and so are the seagulls. Sparrows, starlings, and the beautiful singing the blackbird. Not this morning. Maybe I'm a bit late. There is also the heron with its beautiful feather from the head to its back. The Court family has 5 young ones. Mommy dived in the water and returned with food in its mouth, and the young ones pick it from her. 3 cormorants dived in the canal, and 1 caught a redfish, which is swallowed rapidly. 3 kestrel trying to catch a vole in King George Battle. They missed every time. Each one scooped down and ran for the vole with his feet. The vole squeaked and ran off to the bush. A proud wood pigeon sat among the bushes. There is a lovely sunrise over Spike Bridge Park and King George Meadow. I feel a sense of peace among the poppy, cornflower and wild barley in King George Meadow. The morning frost, the crisp air, and the gentle wind help me to be resilient as I face the pandemic. Today, I spent a bit of time looking at the space in the branches of trees. It is interesting, like the space I need. There were no leaves 7 weeks ago, and the willow had buds and are now covered with leaves. Buttercups are everywhere. The elderflowers are out, and it's time to collect them for making elderflower cordial. Most of the trees have leaves. Grass has been cut. Cherry blossom has come and gone. The day has lengthened. Sunrise about 5 a.m. and sunset about 9 p.m. Chatted with a walker about nature. He said that nature carries on its life through the pandemic, just as it is. The virus does not touch them. Maybe nature is saying, please be kind to us.
Now I would like to end with a poem by Gerard Manley Hopkins. But first, let me say a few words about Hopkins and why we have chosen to recite one of his poems each day in Laudato Si week. The poems speak to us of the grandeur and greatness of God and his creation, before which it is our duty to give him praise. There is something prophetic about his poems. They echo loudly in the challenging situation of our times. Gerard Manley Hopkins lived from 1844 until 1889. He was an English poet and Jesuit priest. The beauty and wonder of his poetry was only recognised long after his death. The poem for today is called God's Grandeur. The first 4 lines of the poem describe a natural world through which God's presence runs like an electric current, sometimes being seen in flashes. Or it is like a rich oil, a kind of oil that wells up to a greatness. Given these clear, strong indications of God's presence in the world, the poet asks how it is that humans fail to heed his divine authority. In the second section of the poem, he is saddened that humans are so insensitive to the beauty around them and have become strangers to nature. In spite of this, however, within God's world is a deep freshness that points to the continual renewing power of God's creation. The power of renewal is seen in the way morning always waits on the other side of dark night. The source of this constant regeneration is the grace and spirit of a God who broods over a seemingly lifeless world with the patient nurture of a mother hen. The world is charged with the grandeur of God. It will flame out like shining from shook foil. It gathers to a greatness like the ooze of oil crushed. Why do men then now not wreck his rod? Generations have trod, and all is seared with trade, bleared, smeared with toil, and wears man's smudge, and shares man's smell. The soil is bare now, nor can foot feel being shod. And for all this, nature is never spent. There lives the dearest freshness deep down things. And though the last lights off the black west went o' morning, at the brown brink eastward springs, because the Holy Ghost over the bent world broods with warm breast and with, bright wings. Let us end our evening by saying together the prayer for the 5th anniversary of Laudato Si. Loving God, creator of heaven and earth and all that is in them, you created us in your image and made us stewards of all your creation, of our common home. You blessed us with the sun, water, and bountiful land, so that all might be nourished. Open our minds and touch our hearts, so that we may attend to your gift of creation. Help us to be conscious that our common home belongs not only to us, but to all future generations, and that it is our responsibility to preserve it. May we help each person secure the food and resources that they need. Be present to those in need in these trying times, especially the poorest and those most at risk of being left behind. Transform our fear, anxiety, and feelings of isolation into hope, so that we may experience a true conversion of heart. Help us to show creative solidarity in addressing the consequences of this global pandemic. Make us courageous to embrace the changes that are needed in search of the common good. Now more than ever, may we feel that we are all interconnected in our efforts to lift up the cry of the earth and the cry of the poor. We make our prayer through Christ our Lord. Amen.